Today's celebration reading of Scripture is from John chapter 20, verses 11 through 18, found on page 1685 and 86 of your pew Bibles or on the screens. And this reading is when Jesus appeared to Mary Magdalene. Now Mary stood outside the tomb crying. As she wept, she bent over to look into the tomb, and she saw two angels in white seated where Jesus' body had been, one at the head and the other at the foot. They asked her, "Woman, why are you crying?" "They've taken my Lord away," she said, "and I don't know where they have put him." At this, she turned around and saw Jesus standing there, but she did not realize that it was Jesus. He asked her, "Woman, why are you crying? Who is it you are looking for?" Thinking he was the gardener, she said, "Sir, if you have carried him away, tell me where you have put him, and I will get him." Jesus said to her, "Mary." She turned toward him and cried out in Aramaic, "Rabboni," which means teacher. Jesus said, "Do not hold on to me, for I have not yet ascended to the Father. Go instead to my brothers and tell them I am ascending to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God." Mary Magdalene went to the disciples with the news, "I have seen the Lord," and she told them that she had what he had said, and these things to her. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
"Woman, why are you crying?" is a strange thing to ask someone standing in front of an empty tomb. Two angels see her there and they ask her, "Why are you crying?" Let's start with woman. Who is Mary Magdalene? She is introduced to us in Luke chapter 8, where we learn two things about her. One, she had not one, not two, but 7 demons cast out of her by Jesus. And two, we learn she was part of this cadre of women that would follow Jesus everywhere and often would support him out of their own pocket. So if you ever wondered, how did Jesus buy food when they needed money? There's a group of women that were part of the network that supported him and his disciples along the road. Now, you would think, what's Mary's last name? It's not Magdalene. Magdala is the city she's from. She's from the region. If you know the area of Jerusalem or Israel, you've got in the north the Sea of Galilee, and right in the middle of the Sea of Galilee, well, not in the middle, that'd be underwater, but on the Israel side, on the west side, is a large town, a fishing village named Magdala. That's where she is from. It's unusual for a woman in that first century to be known by where she's from. And most likely, this means that Mary was unmarried. She may have been widowed. She may have never married. But she is a woman of means from a place that followed Jesus as one of his disciples. So she's a disciple. She follows Jesus around. She's seen many times in the gospel stories as someone who is present, following Jesus, which means whatever life she had in Magdala, she left it behind and she followed Jesus everywhere. It's not super common to have a woman be known by where she's from and have those financial means. It's just not very common. It's not very common for a rabbi to have female disciples. But here she is, often at the feet of Jesus, following him. She followed him all the way to the cross. She's mentioned numerous times during the crucifixion as being present. being at the foot of the cross with Jesus. Woman, why are you crying? Well, she might say, the person who rescued me from my demons and healed me died. The one I followed everywhere. The one who gave my life meaning, purpose. The person who gave me hope in a very dark place. The money I'd been entrusted by God, I gave to the kingdom. I saw people healed by Jesus just as I'd been healed. What else is money for if not for that? He taught me how to pray, how to live, how to move in a world where everything felt new when I was with him. He taught me just like all his other disciples. This person, Jesus, had a peace and a calm in every situation. I was always safe with him. Whenever there was anger, whenever there's a threat, Jesus was going to get stoned, arrested, I would look at him, and all I saw was calm. He was always in control. I'd given everything for him, including my hope for the future. And now he's gone. I watched him get arrested. I waited outside as he was dragged from court to court. I saw him whipped, the crown of thorns put into his head. I watched him carry the cross and followed him to the hill that they crucified him on. And even when I saw him hanging there, I thought, now is the time he's going to stop it. He has to stop this. He who walked on water, he who healed others, he who healed and raised Lazarus from the dead, why isn't somebody stopping this? And then she was there when he breathed his last. She was there, helped his body off the cross so it wouldn't touch the ground. And when she touched him and felt his cold flesh, and he knew this was really happening. It's really over. He's gone. They helped put him in the grave. It's Sabbath. She has to rest, spends all day weeping, not talking to anyone. And then in the dawn hours, in the first Easter morning, she thinks, well, at least I can bring some dignity to his body. I don't know what else to do with my hands in my time. So she goes there, and he's gone. She assumes somebody took him. Why they left the grave clothes behind, I have no idea. But they've taken him. But of course, she doesn't say any of that. All she says is, please, someone took his body. Can you just tell me where it is? She is completely lost, without hope. The one thing she'd clung to, the person she'd clung to, that gave all of her life meaning, brought her hope, formed her life so it had direction and purpose, was gone now. She's completely alone, spiraling. They don't answer. But then a gardener comes behind her, asks the same question, and asks who she's looking for. A gardener. That strike you as you read that? Where have I seen a gardener before? If you think back to Genesis chapter 1, 2, and 3, we have Adam and Eve placed in the garden. Their first role, their first function is as a gardener. And this first sign, the Gospel of John is full and rich of symbols. It is one of those Gospels, every time I read any of it, I see things I've never seen before. So we have in here a gardener. We have in here what John wants you to see is Jesus as the new Adam. I mentioned a few weeks ago that in the book of John there are 7 signs, and John wants you to see each one as you go through the book of John. The first sign was water into wine. There's healings, there's walking on water. There's the 7th sign, which is the raising of Lazarus, Jesus showing that he has mastery even of death. The resurrection would be the 8th sign, or the first sign of a new week, a sign of new creation. And there's lots in this passage that are meant to be a mirror to the Garden of Eden, reflecting it backwards but reversed. You know, in Eden, you had Adam and Eve in paradise, but forced outside into the wilderness. Where is Jesus crucified? Outside of the city gates. He is cast out, but what he brings is paradise into the wilderness. The curse, what did the curse bring into the world? Well, among many things, thorns. The thorns that would become a crown to Jesus. When they realized, Adam and Eve, that they were naked, they made garments for themselves. Jesus had his garments taken off of him and was hung naked on the cross, his clothes stripped from him. Their sin brought death, but his faithfulness brings life. In the tomb, sitting on either side of the stone slab where he was laid, are 2 angels. Did you notice John wants you to know where they are sitting? On either side of it? Well, one at the head, one at the foot. If you read Exodus 25, verse 18, Moses is giving instruction on how to build the Ark of the Covenant. And he talks about the lid that goes on top of it. Guess what's on both sides of the lid? That's right. 25:18 says, make 2 cherubs out of hammered gold at the ends of the cover. John is giving us a sign that inside the tomb is the ark. Where is the ark stored normally? In the temple. Not just in the temple, but in the Holy of Holies. So now you have a sign of a new covenant, a new Holy of Holies, a grave of all places. And where is God? He's outside. You know, in the Matthew, Mark, and Luke, we have the curtain between the Holy of Holies and the people, rended in half, torn in half. John tells the same story, this time with images of the Holy of Holies being empty. The place where God dwells is now with his people. God's desire always, all through the Old Testament, many times you hear God's heart to be our God and for us to be his people. Jesus is remaking the world. This is a new creation in the garden. Jesus is the new Adam, creating as God always does through Jesus, something new. A new covenant has started where God is not in a dwelling place made by our hands for him to dwell, but the whole world has become his space again, him living with us and us being his people. This is part of what makes Christianity unique. What is seen here and seen all through the Bible is the promise, not of us going to some other place when we die, but of even the earth, all of creation being reborn and renewed. Other religions, this is Tim Keller's word, he says other religions have some other space, this immaterial soul harp place where is a consolation to all that we've lost here. But Christian theology, the theology of the resurrection, is that all creation is being redeemed and restored. Paul will later write, all of creation groans for its redemption, longs for God to come and to heal the world, to restore the world. And when does she finally recognize him? Debbie read it so beautifully. When she heard her name, Mary. That's when she turns and she recognizes him. And all that had been lost, all the hope that had died with Jesus was resurrected with Jesus. She is overjoyed. All that she had lost had been returned. Her one compass, the thing that she'd built her life around, Jesus, his life, his teaching, had been returned to him. And then he says, as he often does, something unexpected. Mary, don't hold me. Don't cling to me. This is a verse that has been the focus of much debate. Jesus will ascend how many days later? Pop quiz. 40 days later, he will ascend to his Father. He will, in the very next passage, invite Thomas to touch him, to feel the wounds in his hands and in his side. He does not, so what he says to her is not, don't touch me. There's something in the clinging that he wants her to change. He says, don't cling to me. There's something that he wants her to see that has shifted in how he relates to her and how she relates to him. Because he's not staying. He's going to leave in 40 days to ascend to the Father, and he recognizes her desire. You're back. I want to hold on to you and never let you go. And what he says to her is that desire to cling to me. Where does he redirect it? But instead, go and tell the good news. Go to the brothers, to the, well, they're down to 11 now, to the 11 disciples, and tell them who are hiding in fear, who are just as grief-stricken as you, go tell them the good news. Don't cling to me. Instead, death has been broken. I've still got work to do to return to the Father, to ascend to the Father before I come back again. But in the meantime, go tell my brothers. That's what he says. My brothers. You know, at the beginning, when Jesus called them, he called them as disciples, students, invited them in this circle, which was an incredible privilege and honor for them. But then as he's praying, and as he's in the upper room, and as he's preparing them and giving them some final instructions, he says, no longer do I call you disciples, I call you friends. That's nice. They're still disciples, but they're also friends. But then, in the resurrection, he calls them brothers. Brothers, and by extension, ladies, sisters. That what God has accomplished through Christ is a new family. There are no bonds deeper than family. And Jesus has moved his disciples from students to friends to siblings, which is great. Hopefully your siblings are also your friends. It's kind of the best case scenario when you have all of the above, when you enjoy being together. Brothers and sisters, I'm ascending to my Father and your Father. So you can see in the resurrection, as God is making all things new, as Jesus has defeated death, as the new Adam stepped into the garden to continue to create, as this represents a new covenant, a new way of God relating to us as his people, he sends her into a family. Go tell your brothers and your sisters. Go tell them that my God and yours has done this. I am ascending to your Father, to my God and to your God. And she runs and tells them everything. 40 days later, Jesus would ascend to his Father. Do you think Mary wept that day? You know what? She probably did. But not like she did when she thought she'd lost him forever. It was new territory for her to go on without being able to cling to him. But I would wager she never wept again like she did right before encountering the resurrected Jesus, because she always had hope. She always knew that one day Christ will return. She never lost hope again. She never feared those demons coming back. She never feared losing what was most important and significant in life, for she knew Jesus was alive with the Father. And not just alive, that he was creating a new family, that she was surrounded by her brothers and sisters, that she could go to God with confidence because she was Jesus' brother, and he was her father now. All is being made new again because of Jesus and because of the resurrection. So if Mary can learn how to hope again, so can you. And so can I. If Mary can believe, as great as the evil that she encountered and as much as she'd lost, that there was nothing to fear, not even death. We were singing that this morning. Where, O death, is your sting? It's something Paul wrote. Man, if you're going to say that, you'd better be right about death. Wherever you are, whatever it is you're facing, you can still hope. For God is still making all things new. Whatever it is that you've lost, what the resurrection means is that God is making all things new through Jesus. And one of the great promises at the end of Scripture is found in the book of Revelation, where God says, through his prophet, I will wipe away every tear. I will see every tear. I will acknowledge every tear. I will comfort you and return all that has been lost. You can hope again. For he is risen. Let's stand together and sing hymn number 200.